in the twisted theater of global politics, where power games and national interests intertwine. Certain statements stand out not for their novelty but for the chilling honesty they reveal about the intentions of the powers at play. The recent threats from Vladimir Solovyov, the Kremlin's top propagandist, are not merely reckless words meant to stoke fear. They are a brutal reflection of Russia's dangerous approach to international relations. The threat of nuclear strikes against British and French troops deployed to Ukraine, articulated by Solovyov, is not just a provocation. It is a stark warning to the West that Putin's regime is prepared to escalate this conflict in ways that are both unprecedented and terrifying. The question now is, what will the West do in response? Let's be clear, these are not idle threats. The Kremlin, under Putin's iron grip, has been pushing the boundaries of what is acceptable in international diplomacy for years. Solovyov's statement, mocking the potential loss of British and French lives, is not merely an act of defiance. It is a sign that Russia is willing to make the ultimate gamble in the pursuit of its political objectives. The West must wake up to this reality. This is not just a war in Ukraine. It is a broader confrontation between authoritarianism and democracy, one that could have catastrophic consequences for the global order. And if the West continues to respond with hesitation, or worse, with appeasement, the world will pay the price. The claim that Russia would use tactical nuclear weapons wisely against Western forces is a horrifying testament to the depths to which the Russian leadership has sunk. It is not just the casual nature with which these words are uttered that is alarming, but the implied readiness to cross red lines with no regard for the consequences. Solovyov's insinuation that the lives of British and French soldiers, along with the life of Sir Keir Starmer, the British Labour leader, are expendable in the name of Russian geopolitical interests is not just an insult. It is a direct challenge to the West's resolve and ability to defend its own values. The line between rhetoric and action is increasingly blurred in Moscow, and the West must stop deluding itself into thinking that diplomatic engagement alone will prevent a wider conflict. The response from the United Kingdom and France must be unequivocal. Let's not be mistaken. The deployment of NATO forces to Ukraine is not simply a mission of peacekeeping or humanitarian aid. It is a powerful statement that the West is willing to defend Ukraine's sovereignty at all costs. If Russia sees this as an act of provocation, then so be it. To fold in the face of threats would send the world a message that authoritarian regimes can bully democracies into submission. And that is a message no nation should ever send. But let's not kid ourselves into thinking that a simple military response is the only course of action. The real challenge here lies in the broader political strategy the West must adopt. We cannot continue to operate in a reactive mode. The West must unite, across Europe, across the Atlantic, around the unshakable principle that territorial integrity and democratic sovereignty are non-negotiable. Putin's regime has shown time and again that it will stop at nothing to achieve its objectives, whether that means threatening nuclear war, undermining democratic processes through cyber attacks, or meddling in the internal politics of sovereign nations. The West cannot afford to let Russia dictate the terms of engagement, nor can it afford to back down when faced with bullying rhetoric. But there's a deeper, more insidious issue at play here: the complacency of certain Western leaders. While Vladimir Solovyov hurls threats at the West, leaders like Macron and Starmer, to some extent, continue to engage in rhetoric that fails to convey the gravity of the situation. The reality is that the West must speak with one voice, and that voice must be one of unequivocal condemnation and resolute action. The hesitance to call out Russia's nuclear saber-rattling or the reluctance to confront the true extent of the danger it poses only emboldens Moscow. The West cannot afford to play nice any longer. The threats are real. The stakes are high. And only through decisive, collective action will the world avoid the unimaginable consequences of appeasement. The time for timid diplomacy and half measures has passed. If the West truly values the principles upon which it was built, freedom, democracy, and the rule of law, it must respond in kind. To ignore the threats posed by figures like Solovyov and the broader Russian regime is to invite the very destruction we fear. It is a mistake the world cannot afford to make. The choices facing the West are clear: appease Russia and risk the collapse of the international order, or stand firm, ready to confront any escalation, and defend the democratic values that have held the world together for generations. The latter choice will undoubtedly come at a cost, but the price of inaction is far greater. It is time for the West to shed its illusions about the nature of the Russian threat and take the necessary steps to secure a future where aggression is met with strength, not weakness. This is the only path forward, and it is a path that demands nothing less than the full commitment of every nation that values peace and security in the modern world.